Hello, Tulsi Gabbard. She seems like a good person trying to do good, but everyone's failing. Like when they use the difference in their mind, their logic, like the difference between administrations through the Biden administration and through the Trump administration the first time. The Facebook people, personally, professionally, all until completely they're guilty. But other ways, the FBI, other ways, the state of Connecticut corrections officers, judicial branch officers, even people who escaped from a Clinton correctional facility, and people that run the facility involved with the Frankie Reese, and people involved with the Connecticut corrections officers, involved with sexual and medical offenders from other areas who have roles forcing that principle of being upskirt nature, with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, his co-defendants and their family members, increasingly intercities of Connecticut through time. I've been asking every year since before the World Trade Center attack. These people are stealing my identity. Intercities every year since before the World Trade Center attack. And now they're still planting predicate axe rolls on my street with people from other areas. I still haven't been responded to because they painted me a fake conversation with people I never had a word of conversation with. Weathersfield police fake conversation with me as a kid, now as an adult. They have people named Cololo Smith, Demaro, Kerr, a whole bunch of people. Also, Kerr was brought up by Officer Jerry Miller on Facebook. Facebook has personal and professional roles with child abusers, leaders, and kids first forced years apart. Mad databases used for organized crimes and acting tied to those fake things put in databases at the campuses. Still, delusions raw. Tactically, delusions raw, too. It wouldn't even be that way if you would allow free speech. How it is stayed, I recorded it, but I've been asking calmly. And when I ask other ways, you guys did recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed too, using that to change and fake what's actually recorded. There's a mass behavior racketeering the interbranch already recorded themselves roles with at countries A through Z too. At the same time, thank God, because we can cause positive value nature progressions acts in nature here, not criminal insidiousness natures at once, as you have been shown to self-value means to do it to counter how the breaching method causes and keeps negative value nature progressions acts and natures. The breaching method kept and keeps, other than our founders communicated, about how the breaching method reassigned black pupils whites of eyes, answers, and about how the breaching method in nature itself, its communications was and is replaced here. In other words, get them on paper, one name and sequence on a mass scale. The breaching method already showed the identities of the law. They use words like documents and evidences, or I don't see the evidences. Criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions rock. They are recorded crime methods doing that. That's why we have to have them follow mandated law. Get me on paper. They are forcing and have forced groups speak, right? Specifically to make criminally foreign influence, because only an individual could speak about the predicate acts against themselves. And they're preventing people from speaking about it by pretending they had conversations with people around them about intercities with people who pretended that. All along Route 3 in conjunctions to it, people will tell you they barely know me. The only contacts they know me in were people tied to them involved with judges and prosecutors in foreign countries. And they're educators putting fake things in databases and delusions. Everyone's delusions rot too. So in other words, if you want to argue about things, I was just saying that because you don't have to get them on paper. They're refusing to identify themselves legitimately into branch. The Britain Superior Court has been switching names as their roles intercities with people from Weathersfield, Connecticut through time, involved with all kinds of predicate acts before the World Trade Center attack, in the attack context from Connecticut's roles with Washington D.C. and with New York involved with it, with Connecticut, as the names involved inter-campuses and intra-campuses involved with predicate acts methods, like little magic tricks, too. We have the names of people from other campuses used in ways that people won't be able to respond to, where that's mixed in at the same time with people that aren't even in the same classes together. And they're just putting fake transcripts in databases and influencing the acting tied to that, which is a part of a predicate acts method roles that are a whole bunch of predicate acts with facts, methods, needs, and styles. Now, like wire crime acts and methods, a whole bunch of people have Connecticut news locations and the intelligence families next to them involved with predicate acts with facts at next to campuses as their family members, putting fake ties and fake natures of ties between people, as their collusions with names on all sides of criminal and civil cases, and courts putting the same sequence shifts valued at the same time. And identity theft, fraud, slanders, everyone too by the news at the same time. They're just changing the outcome of legal cases. They're involved with all kinds of identity theft, fraud, slanders, and collusions with all natures of crime scenes. Then they have the audacity to speak on crimes and have people directed to roles with the people directing them with to speak on crimes. When they have roles of predicate acts with facts methods, in other words, WFSB has whole fake conversations with me while they were forcing sexual and medical offenders of kids. They put me in fake conversations with doctors that weren't at all when I was a kid and I was an adult. And with kids that did speak with those doctors, they had rules with all kinds of federal evidences crimes, identity theft, fraud, slander, sequence shifts, pretending passions and emotions tied to that. Get them on paper, one name and sequence, and you'll see. Connecticut Interbranch Offices, Connecticut Corrections Facility. That Weathersfield Police are confessing they have a Frankie Reese involved with them, with the FBI and the courts, and they've been putting fake things. And they have leaders of kids and their own kids involved with identity theft frauds against themselves and against others. The difference of that too exploited. In other words, there are people with the name O'Connor tied to some people with the FBI and New York campuses, involved also with sexual and medical offenders of people from other areas, involved with the streets parallel to my own, like Fairlane Drive. Increasingly, people, I've never seen Joshua Stryker on my street there. I never even seen him at campus. I saw him one time at campus as a kid, and one time when I was an adult. And both times he was sequence shifting and pretending into campuses behind my back, fake things. Why don't you do something about it? I've been asking for a paper about it. There's a police chief. There's a police that there are retired police chiefs too, and they're detectives involved also with proven child abusers, leaders of kids years apart, and the kids that were involved with that, then involved with the second one. It has something to do with the police chief Sin Tran and his family and intimate ties, and 1 years ago, and his intimate ties with the 80 Carriage Hill Drive. Increasingly involved with people too, with the Smith family behind them on Fairlane Drive. I don't know their names. They're at Harper Hospital in the houses and businesses next to them. They have overt criminal enterprises, private ones on Facebook with them planting evidences too, fake motivations, sequence shifts. Increasingly have a Brian Silver with New Britain Superior Court and a Judge Smith involved with overt criminal enterprises and private ones, and people next to body dumping spots that were tied to my people who were in my fourth grade class, fifth grade class, and sixth grade class, who have people in other classes with their family members, collusions with body dumping spots, and the corrections offices, judicial branch offices, with overt criminal enterprises and private ones, and terrorists. These are people who had roles with torture methods before the World Trade Center attack to keep people's mouths shut about details. And then, like, in other words, changing and faking what they pretend they perceive when they speak about the overall, the whole place is corrupt, or the branches are corrupt, or the gangs are corrupt, because they have time collusions with the gangs. These are not legitimate roles with acting professors, too, with the people with WTNH has roles planting evidences at corners of streets with people with acting professors from Central Connecticut State University, involved with names on Church Street in Old Weathersfield, involved with predicate acts on my street through time, and falsified police reports, identity theft, fraud, slanders, all kinds of medical corruption intercities too, and with the databases at the campuses, intercampuses, and intra-campuses. A bunch of people with Central Connecticut State University in New Britain, Connecticut have roles with the educators of Heather Hansen, involved with predicate acts all along Route 3. And its conjunctions, in conjunctions to that, like the state judicial branch offices, increasingly involved with the World Trade Center attack, Connecticut's judicial and corrections offices' names, and their roles with the Frankie Reese, with digital crimes, with Saudis, with World Trade Center predicate acts, with Wethersfield police. One's named Mendez Demoro, and Demoro and Colol said, and Colol too. And Colol and Demoro said that they have cousins named Scalora, and other Wethersfield police brought the name Scalora up. Well, on my street, one of them forced his name in and one forced himself through my door and said, leave the Scaloras alone or something like that, to make it look like they brought the Scaloras up and they're sequence shifting. And that officer won't identify himself legitimately. He left the card. I lost the card. I don't know. I'm not going to trust the card anyway. There already been forging and switching in names before that. The courts do that too. So they have Judge Napolitano sense and sensibilities too, before and after he left Fox News, as recorded hyper-evidential evidences. They're hiding this by pretending they don't see evidences and pretending they don't realize that I mentioned 50,000 times they have fake things in the databases, refusing to identify themselves legitimately into Branch since I was a kid. You better bet on to pay paper because I have more people involved with violence and weapons and credible threats. And I'm telling you, get them on paper.